Good evening, everyone.
How are you?
Baruch Hashem, thank you. Okay. So we're starting over here. Bet it says Garcina Bnei Hayom. It says in Gemara Megillah Kaf Chet Amud Aleph. Amar Rabba Bar Chana Kol Talmid Chacham Shemvarech Lefanav. Okay, we gotta see inside the tour here. Right. So it says like this. Afilu Kohen Gadol Am Haaretz Oto Talmid Chacham Chayav Mita. So it says here, right, that if the Talmid Chacham allows Am Haaretz, to bless in front of him, even be Kohen Gadol Amaretz, he's liable to death. Bidei Shemayim from heaven. Okay. Shenemar, it says, Mesanai havu mavet. Al tikre mesanai ela mesniai. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ava Kohen, wow. So, wow, that's a strong language there. So what is he saying, right? That the problem is, when the Talmid Chacham allows the Amaretz to read, he causes people to hate God. So we're gonna have to understand that a little bit better, what that means. But anyway, besides that, he says here, אבל אם כהן תלמיד חכם צריך להקדימו, שנאמר בקדשתו ולכל דבר. But he says if he's a Kohen and Talmid Chacham as well, then it's okay, right? He can go first. That's his place. כגון לפתוח ראשון, to write, לברך ראשון, to open something first, to bless first. If he wants to give permission to Israel, he is permitted. Okay, so that's the tour. Okay, let's see the bit Yosef on this. So it says bit Yosef, כתבו הריף בפרק 3 שיכלו. The Rif writes this whole thing, למד עמוד א', right, and brachot. And he says, מה שכתב על כהן תלמיד חכם, but if he's Kohen, then we said, right, you have to let him go first. He's Kohen Talmid Chacham, right? That's what we're saying. Where is this coming from? פרק הנזקים, גיטין, נ"ט עמוד ב', וגם זה כתבו הריף, כתבו בפרק שלושה שיאכלו. The Rif also writes this. Okay, what else we got? So then we said, right, if he wants to give him permission to read Israel, he can do that. כן כתב סמ"ג, that's what it says סמ"ג, וזה לשונו, this is the language of the סמ"ג, ואף כהן גד יכול ליתן רשות למקום שאין שם עם רב, כדמוכח בדין זקן. So he says, Kohen Gadol, not Kohen but Gadol, but Kohen can give permission for somebody else to read in a place where there isn't a lot of people there, like it's learned in the Perek Nizakin in Masechet Gittin. Then he goes on to say, "V'katav Mordechai," it says Mordechai, Perek Bnei Ha'ir, right, in Megillah, נראה דבסעודה אם החכם מישראל מקדים את הכהן. So he says, it seems like when it comes to Seudah, if the rabbi, right, the scholar is Israel, he comes before the Kohen. Amaretz was Amaretz, לפניו, דרך חוק ומשפט. So that's the rule, that's the law. כהונה על זה, נאמר כל משנאי יעבוד מוות, אבל אם החכם נתן רשות לכהן, but if the חכם gave permission to the Kohen, Amaretz was Amaretz, לברך ברכת המוציא, to bless המוציא, או ברכת המזון, או to do ברכת המזון, אין כאן בית מחוש. This is, there's no problem here with that. There's no concern. Why? דעה חכם יכול ליתן רשות אפילו לישראל, because the חכם can give permission even to Israel. הפחות ממנו was less than him. כדאיתו בברכות, Rabbi, like it says in Brachot, right? We learned that yesterday. That Rabbi Amar le Rav, Rabbi tells to Rav, right, go and do Birkat Hamazon, even though Rav was his Talmid. Okay. וכן בר כפרה נתן רשות לאחד מתלמידיו. So there's also בר כפרה gave permission to one of his תלמידים לברך בפרק כיצד, in this פרק מברכים, right, which is in ל"ט עמוד א'. גרסינא בירושלמי, it says in ירושלמי, אמר רבי יהושע בן לוי, ממאי לא בירכתי לפני כהן. Wow. So this rabbi says, right, that I never blessed when there was a Kohen there. So let's see the full text in the tour, what this means. לא ברך ישראל לפניי. Oh, look, so this is what he says, this rabbi, right? It says, I never blessed before a Kohen, and Israel never blessed before me. Okay? רבי יהושע בן לוי היה ויראה לכאורה שיש ללוי דין קדימה לברך לפני ישראל, במקום שאין שם כהן. והרם מראות, right, so in other words, Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi, he was a Levi. Oh. So, therefore, he had to bless before Israel. He had the priority over Israel. When there is no Kohen. Okay, that's interesting. So, we'll see how this is supposed to be understood. והרם מרוטנברג, right, this rabbi כתב שאין לו דין קדימה, he says that there's no priority there like that. ועד דקאמר שלא ברך ישראל לפניו, now what you said that this will never be before him, מצד גדולתו. So that's not because he was Levi, that's because he was a Chacham. He was Gadol. Oh. לא מצד לוי, not because of Levi. because עשינו בפרק הרואה, so right, now he brings another Gemara, נ"ח עמוד ב', which is also on Brachot. It says there, גימל דברים מקצרין ימיו של אדם. Wow, look what it says, right? There's three things that diminish a person's lifetime. Right? What is it? אחד מנהיו, מי שנותנים לו לברך ואינו מברך. Wow. So one of them is they give you to bless and you don't bless. Wow. Whoosh. Strong words. Wow. ולא עוד אלא שצריך לחזור אחריו. Not only that, but he says he has to try to get it. Right? ישראל לפניו. Yeah, say, כדאמר לרב הונא לרב ברי דרב חטוף מברך. So right, just like this rabbi used to say to his Talmid, he used to tell him, you know what, go and grab it, like grab that mitzvah, Oh my God. Oh. So, you got to be a little bit aggressive, according to this, grab the mitzvah. Hmm. Wow, very interesting language here. אגב, אורכי אפרש שאר ברכות שאינן בתוך הסעודה. So he says, by the way, I'll also write, I'll explain, he says, other blessings which are not inside the seudah. So what is he trying to say, the tour? He's trying to tell you, right, that we're going to start learning now laws of brachot, laws of blessings, right? Okay, that's our next topic. So we're getting into it. Okay, great. That's great. So that's the end of the tour here. So let's look at the Bet Yosef. So he brings this Gemara, right? What's the source in Yerushalmi? Right? And then it goes on to say, מה שכתב רבנו בשם הר"ם, כתבו הכל בו אצל קריאת התורה. So it's also brought down the Kobo, this what he wrote in the name of the Ram. Okay, so that's Bet Yosef. Okay, so let's go to Shulchan Aruch. Let's see what we got there. So says Shulchan Aruch, לא יקדים החכם ישראל לכהן. וואו. עם הארץ לברך לפניו, דרך החוק ומשפט, אבל לתת לו החכם רשות שיברך. אין בכך כלום. וואו. Oh. Okay, so this is the way he interprets this whole thing, right? Concludes that he says, if there's a chacham, right, Israel, uh, you shouldn't go in front of the Kohen, like, on a regular basis, even if the Kohen is an Amaretz. So let's see how he explains this, the Mishnah Berurah. Very interesting. First, I'll finish it, I'll go back there. So I want someone to finish the whole sentence here. So it's, "אבל לתת לחכם רשות יברך שיברך, אין בכך כלום." But to give permission, right, to the chacham to bless, no problem. אבל כהן תלמיד חכם מצווה להקדימו. When it comes to Kohen who's תלמיד חכam, so then it's a mitzvah to give it to him first. שנאמר, as it says, בקידשתו, right, that you should sanctify him. Regarding the Kohen, it says, Liftoach Rishon, what does that mean? To go first, right, in all these, processions, ceremonies and so forth and so on. So here also, we give him first grabs, first takes, right, with this Birkat HaMazon Zimun thing. Uvarech Rishon, and to bless first. Very interesting. Okay. For some reason, during my lifetime, I've had many Kohanim, who were my chavutas, yeah, I don't know if like most of them were or many of them were. And I always get the feeling, when I'm learning with Kohanim, right now I'm learning with two Kohanim, chavuta. So, what do you call it? And in Israel also I was learning with somebody. So it seems to follow me around wherever I go. But interesting thing is that I have to tell you, I really feel, that they're sanctified. You feel it, when you study with these people and you're around them. They're on a different plateau, these guys. It is what it is. What can I tell you? So Hashem chose them well, let's put it this way. He knows what he's doing. Okay. Not that he needs my approval, but I mean, I get it, I get the point. All right, that's very interesting. So that's the reason why. So okay, so let's understand, right, what exactly he's telling us here. So I'll read it one more time. לא יקדים חכם ישראל לכהן עם הארץ לברך לפניו. So it says, right, that דרך חוק ומשפט. Okay, now I'm understanding it better. The first time I read it, I understood it wrong. But now I get it. And it's the same meaning as we had in the Torah. So meaning what? What we don't want, okay, is that a Talmid Chacham should give Kohen Am Aretz to be like constantly doing the Zimun Birkat Hamazon, when he's there, when the Talmid Chacham is there. You shouldn't give it to him like on a regular basis, right? So the question is why? What's the problem with that? So we already saw, right, in the Tur Bet Yosef, the problem is like this, that a Talmid Chacham, has an exalted status. So what's the exalted status? That he has the wisdom of the Torah, which is, the mind of God, basically, right? When you know Torah, you know the mind of God. That's what it is, you know. So nobody should have precedence over you on a regular basis. So that's what he's saying, Don't put Amaretz to take precedence over you on a regular basis. That doesn't look good. And it says, right, that not only that, but it makes people, um, kind of like they see this priority, like it's like something which is not nice to look at. That the Amaretz comes first. It doesn't look good. It doesn't make God look good. It doesn't make Judaism look good. That's the whole thing, you know. So, but right on the other hand, he says that אבל לתת לו חכם רשות שיברך אין בכך כלום. So what he's saying is like this, right? To give it to him, once in a while is okay. Just don't give it to him as a permanent job. That's the whole thing. That's what we don't want. That's not a good thing. Don't give him like an appointment, to do this all the time. Okay, that's the first part of it. Now comes and says, but if, on the other hand, right, if the Kohen is also Talmid Chacham, so then it's a mitzvah to give it to him, right? In other words, you can give it to him permanently, right? You should. Just the opposite, on the contrary. Let him be permanent. That's what he was chosen for by God, to be to take priority over people. What's it to you? That's what it is. Okay. So he was chosen by God, you know. So that's one thing. Yeah, so that's pretty much the whole story there. That's what he's saying. Right. So what does the pasuk say about this? He brings a pasuk, right? Where is this in Vaikra? Kaf Aleph. It says there, right, the Kidashto. What does that mean? Sanctify him, sanctify the Kohen. That's the whole point. Okay, I'll tell you an interesting story, by the way. Tell you, I have to tell you, that one of the luckiest things that I've had in my life. I don't know if you want to call it luck or whatever you want to call it, but that I was, 15 years with Maran, and I learned so much over there. There's no way you can learn in any book, the things I saw there. I mean, it's just not possible. You have to, when you see with your own eyes what's going on with these big people, it makes an incredible impression on you, this whole thing. So anyway, right, one of the things that I saw, which was something I never saw anywhere else, in my uh, in my lifetime, that Maran, when we used to go up for the Torah, on Monday and Thursday and Shabbat afternoon in Mincha time, Maran always wanted to go up for the to read the Torah always. In every opportunity, he wanted to go up. There's a reason for that. I won't get into it now. But anyway, uh, the interesting thing was, that he usually, right, everywhere you go, the Kohen always goes first. So guess what, right? Maran used to go first himself, even though there was a Kohen there. This I never saw in my life anywhere else. So, but he didn't always do this to go first. So I'll tell you what he would do. Uh, if there was another person who wanted to go up also, and Maran wanted to bring him up, the problem is, right, that, on Monday, Thursday, and Shabbat Mincha time, is only three people going up there, only three. So you have Kohen, Levi, and Israel, right? That's it, you're done. So the problem is, if you have two Israels that want to go up, right, so then you can't do it. There's no way to do it. So what he would do is, he would go first, and then the other guy would go after him. So he basically would, cut in front of the Kohen, cut the line, as they say. He cut the line there. So why did he do this? On what basis did he do this? So the truth is, it's in the Rambam. The Rambam says something interesting, right, about going up to the Torah. He says that just like what we're saying over here, same thing. That if the he says like this, that if the rabbi who's there, the Chamid Chacham, is like a Gadol Ador, one of the biggest rabbis of generation, big rabbi generation, he goes before Kohen, Amaretz. So therefore, what he would do is, he would rely on that Rambam to go first. So whenever he needed to do this, he would do it. That was the whole thing. He didn't do it like every time because there were times where it wasn't necessary. But since if two people wanted to go up, and they're not Kohen Levi, so he needed to, to avail himself of this whole Rambam there. And the only time I saw that, I never saw it anywhere else. But this is the way it is. I mean, if a person needs to do it. But on the other hand, he does say, the Rambam, that the custom, is to let the Kohen go first, even though he's Amaretz. But the thing is, sometimes you can break the custom if you have a need for that. That's the thing. So, because you still have the halacha on your side. Okay, it is what it is. Anyway, just an interesting point there. So let's move on. Going to Gimel. Problem is, there's one problem here. There's no Gimel in the Bet Yosef. So what do we do? We'll look for it in the tour. It's the next best thing, right? Yeah. So the truth is, now I see why there's no Gimel because we already covered it. Yeah, we already read this thing. So let me just tell you what it says here in the Shulchan Aruch. It says, "Mi shenotanim lo levarech ve'eno mevarech mekatzim yamav." Oh, so the thing is, right? If they tell you to bless and you don't, right? This shortens your lifespan. God forbid. So you don't want to do that, right? So if they give it to you, please avail yourself of the privilege, right? To do it. There you go. Wow. Okay, that's Gimel. Hmm. So we got one more Dalid. Can you imagine how time flies? Like, we're only 1 month away from Purim now. Wow. Last year, if you remember, we did the laws of Purim, we learned them. Um, so I'm gonna repost those, for the holiday, so people can do a review, to review these laws of Purim. Bezat Hashem, I'll post those. So anyway, let's go to Dalid. So it says Dalit here in the Torah, Kidamar le Rabba le Ravuna bere chatof bere. Right. So as we said, right, that Rabba said to Ravuna, "Hey, go and steal. Go grab that blessing. In other words, try to be, like aggressive with it. Try to get it." Um, so says Bet Yosef regarding that. Basal pek elu dvarim. Where is this? Right. Nun gimel amud bet. In the Gemara. Perish Rashi explains, כשמושיטים כוס של ברכה, הווה מחזר שיתנו לך יתברך. Wow. So he says, when they're giving the blessing, right, the cup of the blessing, as you know, right, we already studied that the one who does the Birkat Hamazon will hold the cup, and he's going to bless on it afterwards, so forth, so on. So Rashi says, right, when they're handing the cup out, to do Birkat Hamazon, try to grab it, go for it. So even though they didn't really offer it to you, you try to grab it anyway. Okay? So here also, right? I mean, if a person has to know his place, you know what I mean? In other words, if he's an amaretz, why should you try to be grabbing it? If there are people who are wiser than you, don't grab it. You know what I mean? But if you're a good rabbi there, and you're very knowledgeable, whatever, you're top honcho there in the group. So then, yeah, you should try to grab it. Why not? Why give it to somebody else? That's what he's saying. All right, there you go. What else can I say? So let's go to Shulchan Aruch, and we're done with this topic. Wow, we were on this for quite a while, this topic. So yeah, it was a long meal. Let's put it this way, right? Okay, so anyway, it says over here, צריך לחזור שייתנו לו כוס של ברכה לברך. So it says, right, that you gotta try to grab, that the blessing and to do it. So what does that mean? When they're giving out the cup, right, with the wine, right, just stretch your hand out and take it. Okay? If you're qualified, right? What does it mean to be qualified? First of all, you know how to read pretty good. You got to read pretty good. And you also have to have some Torah wisdom, right? And that's already, you're in the ballpark there. Okay, that's it. So we're done. So we'll move right on to Reish Bet, right? Laws of blessings. Wow. There you go. So I'm already looking at the end, where it ends. So this goes, wow. It's about 30 chapters here. Laws of blessings. All right, that's good. Okay, great. So here we go. There's a lot to learn here, the laws of blessings. There's one big rabbi in our generation. You know what he said? He said the laws of blessings are one of the most complicated topics, in the halacha. Go figure, right? Okay, so anyway, we'll start. So here we go, right? It says in the Torah, Al kol perot hailan ben im hem mizayin minim. Right? Uh, Tu B'Shvat is a good time to start this, right? We're talking about 7 species. Oh, mishar minin bracha rishonah rishonim borei pri ha'etz, right? So the rule is anything which grows on the tree, right? Fruits of the tree, right? Whether it's a 7 species or any other species, the bracha is borei pri ha'etz. I'm assuming you know what these words mean. I'm not going to translate them for you. I'm sorry, but I think you guys know what they mean. If you don't, let me know. I'll help you. But so chutz mi'ayayin, right? It says, what's the exception? Wine is the exception. So meaning what? Even though it comes from grapes, right? Shemarech alav bor pi hagefen. So that has its own blessing, right? Bore peri hagefen. Uh, Ben Chai Ben Bushal, whether it's undiluted, right, raw, or whether it's cooked wine, right, we call that pasteurized, right, pasteurized wine. Aval anavim mevarchin b'priya etz. But the grapes itself, right, has a different blessing, b'priya etz. So, right, depends. Why did they give wine its own blessing? Anybody know what the reason is? So the answer is that because it's very prominent, we do a lot of mitzvot with wine, lots of ceremonies, all kinds of stuff, right? Blessings, and all kinds of things, they always involve wine, all kinds of things like that. So this is the reason why it has its own blessing, because of the prominence of wine in the Jewish, right, culture, whatever you want to call it, right? It has lots of prominence, wine, in many, many ways, many factors. So that's why it has its own blessing. Okay, great. So good to know. And I think I mentioned before, right, that there's a difference between the Ashkenazim and Sephardim, right? We say Borei Pia Giffen, they say Borei Pia Goffen. They say Goffen. Okay. I'm not going to get into the theory behind that. I think we spoke about it one time, but whatever. This is not the time for that now. So anyway, right, Ben Chai Ben Mushal. Right, so then he goes on to say, Bildan Boser, okay, let's see Bet Yosef. Well, I'll stop there. Let's look at Bet Yosef. So says Bet Yosef, right, brings a source for this. Pashut Mishnah, it's in the Mishnah, right? Masechet Brachot. Lamed He Amud Aleph. And goes on, Mash Katav, Tial HaYain Mevushal Mevarech Borei Pri Gefen. So then he says, um, also regarding cooked wine, right? Pasteurized, as we said. Same blessing. Kin Katvu Tosfot, that's what it says in Tosfot, Ve'arosh, and the Rosh also Perk Mecher Perot, over there in Balbatra. Udro Rashi Ve'arash, not like Rashi and Rash, who said, Shkatu, Tevarchin Alab Shakol, right? So they say that once the wine is pasteurized, it becomes Shakol. You guys know why this is? Why, why, um, why is there a different blessing for cooked wine? So the answer is that it's considered to be inferior, cooked wine. It loses its flavor when they pasteurize it, The boiling, right, kills the flavor of the wine, the unique flavor of it. So because of that, it's downgraded to shakol, right? Because really shakol is a downgrade from borei eitz. You guys know why that is? Why is it a downgrade? Shakol.
It's more general.
Right, exactly. Oh, good. Okay, let's go. Okay, great, fantastic. It's more general, right? So in other words, the more specific one is an upgrade. Always, right? That's the way it is. So as we said, right, since the quality was downgraded, the blessing is also downgraded, right? That's the way it is. Okay, great. So let's move on. V'data Ran perk arve psachim. So what about the Ran? What does he say? Kedata Tosfot. He passes like Tosfot. Okay, great. That's That's how we paskin too. We say it's not shakol. Okay. כדת תוספות בראש, וניסקי מסמק, also סמק says like that, וכתב הרב מגיד, says הרב מגיד, פרק כ"ט, שכן דת רמב"ן, Ramban also goes that way. So you see, right, most of the Rishonim hold like that. והרשב"א also, וכן כתב מרדכי, also מרדכי, פרק אצל מרדכין, וכן כתבו הגות מימוניות, מהלכות ברכות, ורבנו ירוחם. Okay, so we see, right, we got here many Rishonim who say that. That the blessing remains the same, right? Rabbeinu Yerucham, what about this rabbi? Katav, he says, Sharambam Sober Shemarchin Rav Shakol. Oh, so he says that the Rambam holds it Shakol. But here's the thing, right? Here's the catch. Vani no matzatik shekatav ken. But he says, I never saw the Rambam that he wrote that. So in other words, there are some who claim this, but actually the Rambam never wrote that. So go figure. Maybe they heard it from him, verbally, right? Personally, if they heard it from him. It's possible. I don't know. The Emishum Katav, because that which, if you're going to tell me that which he wrote in, right, the laws of Shabbat, the En Mekadshin Alav, that we don't make Kiddush on wine which is cooked, Hara Piresh Yatam Mipnei She'eno Ra'ui L'Sech. That's the reason why it says you don't make Kiddush on it, is because it's not fitting to bring as a libation on the altar, right? So again, right, you see, it's inferior, and that's why you can't bring it as a libation. Again, right, the same theme recurs. על גבי מזבח, וגם תרומת הדשן שמח, סימן למד, הסכים לדברי התוספות. So he says, תרומת דשן also agreed with תוספות, wow, והראש, and the ראש. וכן כתב בתשובות מיוחסות לרמב"ן, also the תשובות attributed to the Ramban, סימן קוף צדיק, right over there, chapter 190. וכן העלה בשיבולי לקט, also this rabbi says, so you can see, right, there's a clear majority here, right, that remains the same, basically. שמברכים עליו בורא פרק גפן, מאחר שמפורש בירושלמי. Why is that? So he says, because it says ירושלמי, כן, like that. ולא מצינו בתלמוד שלנו שיחלוק עליו. So we don't find in our Talmud, right, Bavli, that it argues with Yerushalmi. So therefore the halacha is like Yerushalmi. Simple as that. Okay, great. So what else we got here? Udvarim shall tell him. So he says that, this they make sense what he's saying. V'chen halacha, he says, that's halacha, he says. There you go. V'siman Arev, it says in this chapter, right, 272, Katav Rabbeinu Asvarot Sheish B'din Zeh. He wrote all the different opinions here, right, regarding, why that is, why it's so. Each respective opinion. וגם שם כתב יין שנתן לתוכו דבש שייך מברכים עליו. Also, he says, he speaks about there, if you add, honey to wine, what is the blessing then, right? How does that change the blessing, right? So, today, we don't put so much honey, we put like sugar in it, and that's the same thing, right? It's, you want to sweeten it, right? That's the whole point, make it sweeter. They sweeten wine all the time today, in those Kiddush wines. They add sugar to them, That's very, very common. So does that change the blessing? No, it does not. It's still a Bori Pei Giffen. Same blessing. Doesn't change it. My Rabbi Maran Alav Shalom, he held, he has like a famous psak, one of his famous psaks. There's many of them like that. But he held that, if you dilute the wine with water, right, and it's majority water, he held that was shakol. So it's one of his famous rulings, the rabbi. That's why I used to say, make sure that your wine is like, it's majority wine and only minority water. Otherwise, you should be blessing shakol. Okay. There's a lot of history behind that. I'm not going to get into all the history that's going on with that. But anyway, right, well, we'll just go on right for now. Maybe we'll talk about that later, when we get to the particulars of that stuff. This is just the general stuff here. Okay, great. So let's move on. We're almost done. But din birkat shimrei yain katav Rabbeinu. What about the right shimrei yain? Right? What is the shimrei yain? In English, this is called the lees. I don't know. God knows. That's the way it was translated to me. Lees, whatever. It's what it is. It's like the solid matter that like forms on the bottom of the barrel. That's what we're talking about. Today, you don't find that. Why? Because they filter it, before they put it into the bottle. So you don't get that solid matter in there. Thank God for filtration. Okay. V'din b'kat shimrei yain katav Rabbeinu. So it says right, yeah, okay, so we got that. Okay, what else we got here? Right. So he says also there we're going to talk about right. That's what we're going to talk about this stuff, that I just mentioned. We're going to talk about wine which is diluted, right? And then you have also temed, right, which is like a drink which resembles wine but not exactly the same thing. It's like sort of like a cognac kind of a thing. So how do they make temed? It says in the Talmud, right? They take the husks of the wine of the grapes. They soak it in water, and the water absorbs the flavor of those husks, and that becomes temed, some kind of like alcoholic drink, some kind of liquor. Very, very similar to wine, obviously. Not too far off. Okay, great. What else we got here? Almost done. I guess we can just finish it. By another. Let's see. So it says over here, כתוב ברכות חיים, אירופה מברך שהכל פשוט הוא. So he says he mentions this drink, right, which is called arufe. Arufe, I don't know. We'll see what this is. I'm not really sure what it is. כתב הרשב"א, the yain toses מברך עליו בורא פי הגפן. Now he brings yain toses, right? So what is yain toses? That means like new wine, which is just starting to ferment, right? It's also the same blessing. And by the way, grape juice is the same, as we said, right? We've already mentioned this a couple of times, maybe. Grape juice is also the same. So in halacha, grape juice is considered to be wine, basically, But bottom line, there's no difference. Just one is new, one is aged, right? That's the only difference. Otherwise, it's all the same. Okay, great. So what else we got here? Because it says right in Bata, there's a Gemara, right? צדיק זין עמוד ב', סוחט אדם אסכול של ענבים, ואומר עליו קידוש היום, ואין מקדשים אלא היין, right? So it says, right, that you see from here support, right? What does it say in the Gemara? That if a person doesn't have, let's say, bottle of wine, whatever, right? So he really has, nothing to make kiddush. So what he can do is, just like, press some grapes, take a cluster of grapes, press them out, and make a cup of grape juice, and you can make kiddush on that, right? That's how you do it. But you do have to remove, by the way, the husks, the skin and everything. You got to remove all the solid matter. Otherwise, it's not Pori Geffen, that blessing. They have to be removed. So once you remove them, now you're ready to make kiddush on that. Right? Your freshly squeezed grape juice. No problem, right? That's how you do it. There's also another thing, which Maran told us, Rav Ovadia Shalom. Listen to this, he went to Egypt, to be a rabbi there. And what happened was, right, they had no kosher wine available at that time. Whatever, it is what it is, right? So he says, what did we do? So he says, we would, they need like on a large scale, it wasn't enough just to, squeeze some grapes, it's like a small scale. So he says, what we did was, we took raisins, he said, and we cooked them. We boiled them in water. And that's considered to be wine, when you boil it for a while. He said they boiled it for like quite a while, until like it really absorbed the flavor of the raisins. And we call that here in America, we call that raisin wine. You can buy that in the store. They have it. Manischewitz, the company like that makes it. I don't know if they still make it, but they used to in the old days. Whatever, they have Manischewitz has like many varieties of wines. That's one of them, raisin wine, right? So anyway, right, that's what you do when you're in a place where there's no kosher wine, you cook up some raisins, and right, you wait till it absorbs the flavor, and then you remove the husks, the raisins, all that stuff, and that's wine. It's another way to do it. Okay, so what does it say here? It says, right, that של הנביאים ואומר לאו קדיש היום. Right, so כתב הרש, says the Rash, בן צמח, יין שנתערב בו שחר תאנים, לא יצא, right? So he says, what about if wine was mixed with, with some liquor? What happens over there? Made out of figs, right? So he says, it's still called wine. לשום דבר עד שיהיה הרוב בשחר. So look what he says, right? If the majority is wine, it's still called wine. So here again, you see, right? We go according to the majority. If the majority is wine and there's a minority of liquor in there, it's still called wine. Right? So that means you can make kiddush on that. Right? דאז בטל מיעוט היין ברוב השחר, ומלכין עליו בשל כל. Right? So he says, because then, right, once already, its majority is already liquor, then the blessing is already shakol, right? it's not very forgiven anymore. So the rule is, right, that we don't come to majority. So the majority depends on what the majority is. That also makes the blessing as well. Din yain mazuk b'mayim nitba'er b'siman rishdal. So we're going to talk about also, diluted wine, as we said, right? B'sham nitba'er din zagim shenatru letocham tenin. Then it's going to talk about also, the figs, they have in their husks, whatever, all kinds of stuff. Ma barachin ala yain yotze mehem. What do we bless and the wine comes out of them? Okay, so we're just going to do Shulchan Aruch and we'll stop there. Let me see how big it is. Yeah, very small. Okay, we can knock it off. So just give me a minute. It says like this, right? Right? The rule is like this. Every fruit of the tree, right? As a general rule, the blessing is Borei Pi Eitz. Except wine, right? Which is Borei Pi Gefen. That's something else, right? Okay. Ben Chai, Ben Mebushal, doesn't matter whether it's right, not cooked, right? Whatever, right? Pasteurized, not pasteurized, natural, right? Whatever. Ben asui konditon sheinu shunitin bo devash bepilupenin. Same thing also applies if they add, as we said, right? Some honey in there, some sugar, right? All kinds of spices. As long as the majority is wine, you're good. That's good. No problem. So it says the Ramah here. This is the one we just did now, right? In the Beit Yosef. What about if right, the wine got mixed up with liquor? So it says the Ramah, as we said, right? We go according to majority. So if the majority is wine, so the blessing will be appropriate given. Right? If it's mostly liquor, mevarech shakol. They're going to do shakol because the blessing on liquor is shakol, right? That's the way it is. Okay, fantastic. So, Bezat Hashem, we'll continue tomorrow. Thanks for coming. Be blessed with wealth and health and happiness. Shabbat Shalom, and we'll see you on Sunday. Have a nice rest. Have a good day of rest. God bless you.
Thank you.
Shabbat Shalom. All the best.
Thank you so much.
God bless.